Very good evening. You're watching Your Story. I'm Maudie Gambhir. Starting off this edition by cutting straight across to the U.S. Supreme Court, where the former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg is being honored. Ginsburg's casket has now arrived in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, attended by her family members, her close friends, and several members of the court. Ginsburg army of clerks to stand guard at the Supreme Court to pay respects. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the women's rights champion, also called a feminist icon, only the second woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, died last week. The court has been closed to the public because of the COVID-19 pandemic. These visuals coming in live from the U.S. Supreme Court, where the former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Ginsburg's casket is being brought in, attended by her family members, close friends, and members of the court who are in attendance at that ceremony honoring the former Supreme Court Justice, also called a feminist icon, a crusader of gender equality, fighting for women's rights. The various judgments and her dissents were remembered as a part of her legacy in the statements that have been issued honoring the Supreme Court Justice so far. These solemn visuals coming to you from the U.S. Supreme Court, where the former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's casket is being brought in, with her army of clerks standing guard at the U.S. Supreme Court. They're accompanying it up to the stone steps leading to the Great Hall, right where the icon presided for almost 30 years. This is being regarded as a private ceremony and then a public viewing, but her former clerks who are standing guard will not be leaving the casket. It's important to remember that Ginsburg's clerks are her most lasting legacy, a part of her most lasting legacy, besides her family members and the several pieces of written opinions, of course, and the long fight that she helmed, fighting for gender equality, fighting for women's rights, famous for her dissents, and known as a champion of women's rights and a crusader for feminism. The lasting imprint that the former Supreme Court Justice has left behind ranges from her notes of dissent, which have been talked about also in the several statements that have been issued by her colleagues. Apart from being called a champion of women's rights, a leader of the court's liberal bloc, a feminist icon, this is a moment that not just the United States but the entire world has been watching very closely, as the legacy that she leaves behind. Many of her colleagues have been talking about the ways in which they have promised to uphold it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg served at the Apex Court for 27 years, and before that, she had argued 6 cases for gender equality. This was way back in the 1970s. That's how far back her legacy goes. Following a private ceremony in the court's Great Hall, where she served for those many decades, her casket will then be moved outside the building to the top of the court's front steps so that the public mourners can pay their respects in line with the public health guidance. Remember, the court has been shut due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So the public mourners can be allowed to pay their respects in line with the public health guidance measures This is after the private ceremony, as a part of which her casket will be moved outside the building to the top of the court's front steps. These visuals coming to you from the US Supreme Court, where former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's casket has arrived, attended by her family members, her close friends, and members of the court. Ginsburg's army of clerks, a very integral part of her legacy, standing by. The visuals from the Supreme Court, also a reminder of the ceremony taking place amid the COVID-19 guideline measures that have been issued also for the public mourners who will be lining up to pay their respects after the private ceremony concludes. The court has remained closed to the public because of the pandemic. The former Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's casket has arrived now at the Great Hall of the US Supreme Court, with her army of clerks standing by.
You may be seated.
Ginsburg was only the second woman to serve on the apex court of the United States. The solemn ceremony marking the final moments where Ruth Bader Ginsburg is being honored by her family, by her colleagues, by her army of clerks, and the public mourners who will also be paying their respects after this private ceremony concludes. Thousands are expected to line up